The Calgary Flames announced
Flames.
that they signed Jonathan Huberdeau to an 8-year extension for $84 million, $10.5 million AAV. I am so happy for Calgary Flames fans because when you lose Matthew Tkachuk, who forced his way out, when you lose Johnny Gaudreau for absolutely nothing, it looked like this team was on the verge of entering a rebuild. Brad Treliving swings for the fences, makes a fantastic trade with the Florida Panthers. Now, one of those two guys is already locked up for the future. I think at a good number that he deserves. Okay, I think Jonathan Huberdeau is a better offensive player than Johnny Gaudreau. You can disagree with me if you want. They're the exact same age. I found it so ridiculous that everyone was going to praise Calgary for bringing Gaudreau back at the exact same number, 8 years, $10.5 million a season. But now that they've signed Huberdeau, who's the same age, to the exact same contract, who has the fourth most points in the NHL over the last 4 seasons, people are like, I don't know about this. This contract isn't going to age well. Like, all those people, wake up and smell the coffee here.
Yeah, he's a star player.
He's a star player. You need this if you're the Calgary Flames after what happened. If you have the chance to lock up any of, let's say, the top 20 to 25 players in the NHL, which I think most people would probably agree Huberdeau falls in that range, you got to sign him to that deal, as much as it might hurt, when he's in his mid to late 30s.
How old is he? Is he 30?
He's born in 93, Jonathan Huberdeau. So I believe he's 28,
29.
Turning 29.
Okay. I mean, someone was going to give it to him, and I don't say that to justify the deal, but I mean, that's tough, man. And I saw the same reaction you did. People calling it a bad deal. It's like, how's that a bad deal? The guy was like breaking assist records, lighting it up. As you said, it wasn't a fluke. It's been the last 4 years. He's been incredible. He kind of had a slow start to his career based on his expectations, but the guy's a star player and he puts up points. I don't see what the problem is. But you touched on the thing with the Flames. I'm so happy for Flames fans, and I don't often say that about another fan base. Man, like what they went through sucks. Like 2 players looking them straight in the eye and saying, we don't want to be here anymore. And it wasn't a situation where, I'll say it, like the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs, guys not wanting to play for the blue and white. Like I totally believed it, whether it was ownership or the team sucked. This was a good team. A very good team. So for 2 players, man, to look management in the face and say, we don't want to stay, and especially with one of them being RFA, that sucked. And the whole spin of people or players not wanting to play in Canada, in comes Huberdeau. They signed him long term. So apparently some guys want to play in Canada. I mean, people will say that Huberdeau is Canadian. The 2 others are American. So we can analyze that how we want. But I know of a lot of Canadian players who don't want to play in Canada. But yeah, props to the Flames. High five to their fans, because like you said, this could have got really bad and really negative in a hurry, and they were able to salvage it. So Brad Treliving, man, like, good job. It's not too often that fans across Canada are kind of saying like, wow, that GM's doing a great job. He's doing a good job, man. Underrated, maybe. Brad Treliving, maybe he'll get that award nobody cares about next year, GM of the year.
Yeah, just an incredible job by Brad Treliving, because if you asked anyone who follows hockey a month ago, when Matthew Tkachuk was requesting a trade out of Calgary, if you asked anyone what they thought that trade would turn into, I don't think anyone in their right mind would have guessed that Calgary would have got Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, first round pick.
Oh, crazy.
Like the whole package that they got was just unbelievable. And, people were like, you can't say that Calgary won the deal yet because they might lose Huberdeau and Weegar to free agency. My comeback to that was, even if they hadn't signed Huberdeau and he went the whole season and wanted to test free agency, the Flames could have dealt him at the deadline for a monster package.
But if they were winning, I mean, I'd expect them even with that addition to be winning. You think they were still looking at it that way?
And that's totally fair. They could have been winning, but let's say they were in a wild card spot or kind of right on that edge of making or missing the playoffs. Maybe they just said, you know what, even though we're a point out of a playoff spot, or maybe even though we're actually in a playoff spot, maybe the best thing to do here is to trade Jonathan Huberdeau for one of the biggest trade deadline packages we've ever seen in recent memory. I think that could have been on the table. So I always looked at it as sort of a win-win situation for Calgary, no matter how it played out, because I felt like they had a lot of options. And now that they've actually locked them up, it's party time in Calgary, honestly.
At the end of the day, so they took their shot. They got an elite player, at least for 1 year. I think most people would agree, and ask Flames fans and comment down below, that is more exciting than them signing like a good player who signed. No, they got an elite player for 1 year, and you have a year to try to convince them. And if you can't, well, at least this year you're going for it. So I like the deal.
Exactly, right? They're trying to win. I mean, isn't that what we asked for?
Yeah, exactly.
From our favorite teams? Like, they're trying to win. Do
Yeah,
you really want to sit there through a rebuild?
It's kind of funny in hockey and like hockey fandom. You go on Twitter, you see these things of like, oh, this contract, that contract. Hockey's kind of funny with the hard cap because you make moves to try to win, but then you get criticized that like, oh, that deal's not going to age poorly. Yeah, but we're trying to win now. Like, we got him. We're trying to win. We're taking a shot. But I mean, that's just, I guess, the nature of having a hard salary cap and hockey players getting shorter and shorter careers. But I just find it funny when people shit on deals like this where they got a star player, everyone. And and again, the best teams are the teams who have the best players. Period. So they got a really good player.
One of the crappiest things about the salary cap era is how much now we are just completely dissecting all these contracts.
Oh, like trades are the worst now. Trades suck now. Actually, this trade, someone commented they can't even remember a hockey trade since this one. Like, this was an actual hockey trade.
Like, it's just made hockey fans, and listen, a lot of hockey fans are smart and they've now become used to analyzing these contracts and making sure that it fits in within their team's salary cap and making sure that, the team is efficiently spending on the right players. But it's kind of gotten too far now where we're questioning Calgary for signing one of the elite offensive players in the league to an 8-year deal for $84 million. It's like, can we just take a step back and realize this is Jonathan Huberdeau? Calgary just lost two of its best players that, as you said, Lepore said, I don't want to be here anymore. And to replace them with Jonathan Huberdeau is a win. All right. They had to pay him. He deserves the money as far as I'm concerned. I'm very happy for the Calgary Flames, and I'm excited to see just how good they can be this season. Do I think they're good enough to win the cup? No, not necessarily, but this is still a pretty good hockey team that should easily return to the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah. The thing is with the cap too, I was having a conversation with someone over dinner, of course, talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs and kind of like how we mentally approach certain situations. Ask any Leaf fan out there, 2 years from now, Austin Matthews and William Nylander walk in free agency. Both of them just gone off the books. See you later. I think the initial reaction of Leafs fans would be devastation to lose two players like that. I mean, a historical player in Austin Matthews and an excellent player in William Nylander. But then I said, well, they'd free up 18.5 million of cap space. So, and like, I'm not saying that they could easily replace those two guys, but you can fill cap space and it's not like they just lose them and they're now a team that is that much worse, like minus those guys, because they would be replaced with 2 or 3 or 4 guys that would make a more balanced lineup, or they can get an elite player and 3 balanced guys. So I think that kind of sucks in the cap era, like these discussions, because it's about cap space. Like, even people, like you mentioned how people dissect contracts. To me, it's dissecting trades. Like, oh, this team got hosed, whatever. They got cap space. If you get cap space, that's a win because that allows you to make a move. It's an asset, right? It's weird, man. And I'm sure different teams run their organizations differently, but at the same time, I think they're kind of getting it now. Like, you're seeing more and more moves where it's just about freeing up cap space and leaving yourself some flexibility, because it can be shown to be very powerful as the season goes on.
You know what, Lepore? Screw the salary cap. Get rid of it.
Fuck.
I don't care about the parity. I want to see the Leafs and the Rangers and all the richest teams in the Habs go out and sign whoever the hell you want. Give these players what they deserve. Give them their market value. Load up. Create these super teams. I honestly think that would make the NHL more exciting, but that's maybe a conversation for a different day.
You know, it's funny. I don't know how it was a couple years back. Someone compared the 4 majors and it was something like 10, 20, 30-year span. I think it was like a 20 or 30-year span. And they listed all the champions. And the sport that had the most champions was baseball. No cap. Well, now they have the luxury tax, but yeah, like no hard cap. At the end of the day, like it doesn't really create parity. And then now, I mean, with the NHL, LTIR, like teams go on cap friendly. Teams aren't all spending the same amount of money, freeing up and this and that, and finding ways to maneuver around. And it's brutal, man. It's brutal. And people, I'm sure, are already saying, "Oh, big surprise, Leafs fans don't want a cap." Well, yeah, Leafs fans don't want a cap. It's the first time in the history of our organization that things are actually run properly. And I think I can say, and most people would agree with me, we have smart people at the top, and there's a cap. Like there was no cap when we had dummies running the show, like signing horrible trades, giving guys too much money and all this shit, going after the wrong guys. No, now they would do it right, and they're being blocked with a cap. It's fucking brutal.
Yeah,
I'm bitter.
It's brutal. Get rid of the damn salary cap. I can go on about that for hours, but maybe we'll save that for another episode and dedicate the entire 45 to an hour talking about how the NHL needs to get rid of the salary cap.